A severe rainstorm has worsened the conditions for displaced Gaza residents, flooding tents, destroying belongings, and blocking streets. Footage shows flooded dwellings and soaked possessions outside, with residents describing the situation as catastrophic. At least 14 people, including 3 children, died from hypothermia and building collapses. Tents are overflowing with water and waste, and essential items like mattresses and food were destroyed. Civil defense and ambulance vehicles struggle to navigate muddy roads amid widespread water damage.
The tents they give us aren't even fit to live in. I need someone to support my children. We need clothing, covers, and mattresses. Please, save us. We are being flooded. This is not a life. It's senseless. God is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer. Where have you led us? We truly don't know what to say. My children slept through the night while I feared for them from the water seeping in. This is not a life. I swear to God it is not a life.
Heavy rain fell on Gaza last night, creating these large pools of water. They completely block movement through the streets. This is due to clogged sewage networks, a lack of municipal services, and the massive destruction of infrastructure, which has made everything worse. As you can see, even the Palestine Red Crescent Society and its hospital are flooded. The situation is extremely difficult and catastrophic.
We were flooded at night by the heavy rains and the sewage water that rushed in while people were sleeping. Where are people supposed to go? Where should we go? We have no one to turn to except God. We ask for His mercy. We arrived at night to find water rushing at us from all directions. We couldn't move or do anything. The tents were filled with water and all kinds of waste. Everything was flooded: tents, mattresses, blankets, food, flour, all our possessions. Even our clothes are ruined. I'm now wearing my wife's clothes. Everything is flooded and contaminated with sewage and filth.
For more on this, we are being joined now by Arise analyst Doug Brooks. Hi, Doug. Thank you for joining us on Arise America.
It's a pleasure.
Very quickly, before we go to other stories, what do you have to say about this flooding?
Not a whole lot. I think a lot of the damage that's been caused in this conflict has obviously made the situation pretty dire because the weather turned this way. So I think it's going to have to be addressed on a fairly large scale, and we have to get the Israelis to essentially stop attacking and basically leave some time for this for the reconstruction.
Okay, before we then move on, we're earlier told about the president's itinerary, how the president manages his time and how he juggles meetings and other requirements and other obligations. What do you have to say about the meeting he had with a broadcaster, a popular broadcaster that wasn't mentioned? Do you have an inkling into whom that could have been?
Well, no, he meets with broadcasters all the time, especially from the right. And they give him these really soft interviews. So who knows? You know, the White House comes out and says that he's meeting with 21 people a day. That's absurd. They've been trying to say that his health is incredible and so on, and yet we know that he's had an MRI for some reason, and he won't explain why. He's had obvious bruises on his hands, and that's not clear what that's from. So he has some definite health issues, and the White House is trying to spin it a different direction, but they don't have the best reputation for truthfulness.
Oh, really? Doug, well, I understand also that former immediate past President Joe Biden also had his own health issues. Many people, we all have a
Of
health concern.
course.
We all have health concerns, one way or the other, you know. So would you say, in all truthfulness, objectively, that his health bill hasn't been well managed?
Uh, well, we don't know. There's been the whole his whole health background, his whole health checkups is all carefully hidden by the White House. So trying to get a handle on it. I mean, we do know that Trump disappears sometimes for 2 or 3 days at a time, and the White House won't explain where he's gone. And we do know that he's obviously had some, they've admitted that he's had some circulatory issues, which explains, his very thick ankles, and so on. So he's had some issues. Everybody knows that. But the White House continues to say that, he's the most fit president ever and ridiculous things like that. It's unfortunate, but I guess we'll find out the hard way what his real health is.
Well, looking at the looking at the what could possible consequences of not being as fit as a fiddle as the number one citizen of the most powerful country in the world, arguably. So then, how do you see his rating when it comes to physical performance? How he's able to attend to what lies ahead of him as we go into the new year? So, what do you see his rating coming up to or coming down to in the new year?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we do know that he is tweeting late into the night. He's up late. He has, seems to have enough uh, health to, tweet and demand that the Democrats get charged for various crimes and things. So he's got that going for him, but his record is terrible. The economy's crashing. There's all sorts of problems. The only thing he can say is that the price of oil is not gone up, which is accurate. But other than that, I mean, there's been a lot of unemployment. There's been cost of living has gone up. His tariffs have caused huge jumps in various other costs. So, and this is coming, he denies it up and down. He denies these polls that are public polls. I mean, he's denying reality and saying, no, this is the best economy in the world and in history. And it's, of course, not. So he's having to deal with these sort of mental challenges to him. And he doesn't deal with it well. He tends to attack his critics. He tends to deny and to lie, and so it makes it hard for people to take him seriously. And this is coming to haunt him. As you know, they were trying to, in one particular state, they were trying to gerrymander it, which is this to ensure that there'd be more Republican members of Congress at the next election. And the Republicans in that state turned against him, and that's kind of a first. And so it means that I think the Republicans, between the Epstein vote, that means all those documents are going to be released. Trump is losing control of MAGA, and it may go back to his health, or it may go back to his mental health. It's not quite clear, but things are falling apart a bit for the White House.
Very quickly, because before I talk about the war drones for the U.S., right? For a president who is working over 10 hours a day, how then do you see, we talked about his rating with citizens. What about with the Congress in the new year? What do you see him coming up with the Congress in the new year?
Well, there's been some very high-level defections away from Trump, and this is why the Epstein files are going to be released on the 19th of this month, because essentially enough Republicans have decided to break with Trump, and they don't like where he's going, and now there's a huge healthcare issue. The health premiums for over 20 million Americans are about to double or triple, because the Democratic law that was going to keep them at their current levels was nixed by the Republicans, and so the Republicans are scrambling to come up with their own idea on how to make sure that 20 million Americans don't drop out of healthcare. And good luck with that. I mean, it's there's a lot of things in Trump's platform that are just not working out right now, and a lot of Republicans, as we mentioned, this one state, Indiana, has left him. The Republicans, a very red state, a very pro-Trump state, or used to be, they decided not to go with what he was demanding. So Trump is losing control over his own party, and I think this may be part of the thing that is affecting his health, both mentally and physically.
My last question to you, Doug. The U.S. has long been reliant on using expensive and cumbersome ordnance, but is now moving towards utilizing electronic warfare, which its rivals have already done. So, what are your observations on this? Looking at a new era of drone warfare, as the U.S. is being forced to move its military to reshape its strategy.
Well, the U.S. developed some very sophisticated long-range drones and attack drones that have that it's used quite effectively for 20, 25 years now. But they were very expensive. And what we're seeing now out of the war in Russia and Ukraine is the cheap drones are starting to dominate the landscape. And especially, I mean, when you look at the war front there, the real danger is no longer artillery, well, which is still dangerous, but not nearly to the level that these drones are. These first-person drones are doing almost all the casualties, and so this is something that I think the U.S. military is recognizing. They've got the really sophisticated, long-range, high-altitude drones. Nobody does that better, but in terms of these really lethal first-person drones, that's something that the U.S. has lagged behind on, and now they're picking up on it. They're finding a way to take cheap drones. They're learning a lot from the Ukrainians, who have been very helpful on this. So it's a very fluid, very flexible field, and of course, if you're going to have the best military in the world, you better damn well figure that one out, right?
Thank you very much indeed, Doug. Thank you for joining us on Arise America. That's all for this edition on the show. From me, Tolu Ojewumi, and the entire team here in Abuja and the US. Thanks for watching.
Every angle. This is Arise America.